right. It is time. So first and foremost, thank you for coming to this session. I know it is like in the middle of lunch, so I know you're giving up like food to be here. So first, thank you. My name's AJ Smith. I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager on the Microsoft 365 marketing team, and with me is...
Shilpi Sinha. I'm a PM lead in Microsoft 365 Core.
And today we're going to talk to you about using analytics to maximize your Microsoft 365 value. So before we get into analytics and everything else, I'm going to kind of start with a little story that's a little bit about value and the perception of value. So about 3 years ago, around maybe early December, my wife was cleaning the couch cushions off with the vacuum cleaner, and I could see she was struggling. She was like, "This is really hard." And I said, "Hey, well, Christmas is right around the corner. Why don't you I'll get you some vacuum cleaner attachments for Christmas." The look on her face was like, "Don't you dare." And she literally was like, "No, that is not a Christmas gift." And I did this jokingly. I completely understand my wife does not want vacuum cleaner attachments for Christmas. But there's a difference between my wife and I. I'm the person who enjoys practical gifts. If it's something that I would have never thought of for myself that helps me do a job, I'm cool with it. My wife on the other hand, no. So 3 weeks later, Christmas rolls around. I open up my stocking. I get this: a pair of gloves and an orange flashlight. And I'm like, okay. And it dawned on me, the orange flashlight was so I could walk the dog more. I am stereotypically the dog walker in my house, but I also walk my dog very late at night and also in the morning. Seattle, dark very early. The sun doesn't come up until very later in the morning either. So I'm usually walking the dog in the dark about 8 months out of the year. So it was very thoughtful of her to give me a gift of like a flashlight that has like a light for me, a light that diagonally points down, a red light in the back so it flashes so people can see me as I'm walking down the road. Great. My idea of value of this is awesome. Makes me safer. Great. Now, I did have to poke back at my wife and go, "Remember that conversation we had 3 weeks ago about practical things?" And she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "No, it's not a problem." My wife, of course, what I got her was like the spa gift card so she can go get a massage, because that's what she actually values. So people see value differently and measure value very differently. So what I have to ask of you is, how do you measure the value that you get from Microsoft 365? Just shout it out. It's perfectly fine. You don't have to stand up at a microphone, but yell it out. Usage. Who else? Anybody else? How else do you measure value? Help desk tickets. What else? Adoption. Okay. Productivity. Okay. How do you measure productivity, though? Hey, that's a good question. I like that. How do I measure productivity? I tell you, you should go see one of our other sessions. We'll talk to you about that. All right. So some of the words that I heard are similar to what we hear other organizations tell us. Usage is a proxy for value. If people are using the solutions, they're getting value out of it. So if you said those words or you thought those words of adoption and value and usage, great. We're going to tell you how you can better understand that value by looking at usage information. And we're going to focus on two things under the usage analytics solutions that we have. First is usage analytics in the admin center. The second is usage analytics in Power BI. Now, out of curiosity, how many of you have used these things before? Show of hands. Okay, a decent portion. How many of you have seen that exact screenshot in the Power BI, panel over there? A few. You must have magical powers, because to be honest with you, we haven't really released that much yet. That looks brand new. It's a new modern look of it. We'll talk about it a bit more, but that was kind of a trick question. So this is coming, but it's one of those things of like, hey, you probably have seen the older version of this, but we'll talk more about that. But there's really two ways that we look at usage analytics: the admin center and in Power BI. And what we'll do is we'll cover these at a high level, and then we're going to break into a bunch of demos that Shilpi will show us so that you can better understand what you can look at and also what's new. So in the admin center, the core piece of the admin center for usage analytics is about the dashboard, right? That first page you see when you go under reports and usage is the dashboard. It gives you, this line graph that helps you understand what products are being used, what workloads are being used by people, so you can see that count. And then you see these cards underneath that give you individual product level details, right? So it tells you, some high level information around OneDrive, SharePoint, Exchange, Teams, Groups, Skype for Business, et cetera. But we give you this summary view to help you better understand at a very high level what's going on. Now, if you click on one of those cards, you get a drill down report. So in this case, this is the OneDrive one that I have in a tenant that lets me drill down and get user level details. So I can see if Shilpi is sending emails, if she's using Teams chat, if she's uploading content to OneDrive. I can see a lot of that information down to the user level. Now, some of you, there may be alarm bells going off in your head going, whoa, user level details? I can't see that. My company says that's a no-no. No big deal. We can obfuscate that. We can anonymize the data so you don't know if it's Shilpi or me or whoever else in your organization might be doing a particular function. Now, we also give you the ability to export data out to CSV because we only give you the data for about 6 months. We give you a 180-day view, right? So you see at the top, we can give you effectively your 7-day, 30-day, 90-day, and 180-day view. But if you want to keep it longer than that 180 days, great. Just export it out, take it, and hold on to it. Your call. There's also a brand new report we're announcing this week, which is the Office 365 Pro Plus usage. So in the existing reports, there's an Office 365 Pro Plus activation report. So it helps you understand when people are activating the service. But what we want to do is get you now into the product level details, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and show you some of that information. So this is brand new. It'll be out by the end of the calendar year. So if you don't see it in your tenant today, it's OK. There's a reason why. Now, for those of you who are trying to drive adoption in the organization, trying to drive usage, obviously this is in the admin center. How many of you have access to the admin center to view this stuff? OK, not everyone's hand goes up. Yeah, it's kind of a challenge sometimes. Like if your job is driving adoption or trying to drive productivity and you don't have access to this, it makes it hard. So there's a way you can get access. Ask IT to give you the reports reader role. The reports reader role grants you access to view the reports inside the admin center. It doesn't let you change password policies. It doesn't let you create user accounts. It just lets you view the reports. It's a really safe thing so that IT says, OK, great. You just can read. You're not going to mess with anything else. And of course, if you're a workload admin, so if you happen to be like the SharePoint product manager in your organization or whatever, and you have admin rights to SharePoint, you can view this data also. And last but not least, we've heard organizations ask us a lot around like, well, is there a way for me to programmatically access this data? Can I suck it out of the system and do something else with it? So there's a Microsoft Graph Reports API that we make available so you can integrate the data programmatically with something else. What we normally hear people ask for is I want to take that data and merge it with like my HR hierarchy information from like an outside system like Workday or whatever else. I want to smash the two together so that when I look at my reporting, I can say, oh, the marketing department is doing this, the sales department is doing this, manufacturing is doing that. So this is partly why we give you that API, to suck that information out and merge it with other information. All right. So instead of me talking some more, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Shilpi kind of walk you through a demo around the usage analytics in the admin center. So Shilpi, take it away.
Perfect. So first of all, I'm super excited because a lot of people are familiar with these, and you already have access, and you're already using it. So that's great. I love the fact that a lot of people showed up their hands. For those that haven't seen this, I'm kind of quickly going to walk you through some of the capabilities that exist here so that you can go back and then check it out. So what you're seeing here is the main landing dashboard page that allows you to see a summary view of usage across all of the major products. What we have coverage for today is activity across Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint. If you're still using Skype for Business, it'll show up here. And then we have Office Pro Plus activations. We also have Yammer activity. We recently, about a few months ago, 6 or 8 months ago, brought in Microsoft Teams activity. And then if you are a customer with multi-geo accounts set up where your users can have data in different locations, we also have that information available here. I'll talk about this card in a little bit. One of the things that what we do here is the goal of the dashboard is to give you a summary view and help you understand in a quick glance what's going on across these products. If you look at each of these cards, the main information in there is, first of all, to help you understand what is the level of activity that's going on within that product. So in the case of email, we tell you how many emails are actually getting sent or received across all your users. And what you're seeing here is a rate of change across the previous reporting period. And so for that, just to bring you up here, we have reports available as of the last 7 days, last 30, 90, and 180 day. That's the max that we go up to 6 months of history. But the notion here is if you had a user that was doing activity as of the most recent date, they'd show up in all of these reports. But if you had users that were only using the product 90 days ago, they would only show up in the 90-day view. Because once your users stop the activity, they're not really contributing towards the aggregate in some of the more recent activity there. So when you go back into the cards, here, this is signifying the top-level activity going on. Across OneDrive, it's the amount of files and storage that you're using. In Skype for Business, it's how many transactions that are of the type of peer-to-peer or organizations of meeting and participations of conferences there. In Yammer, again, it's the number of posts that are happening, activities. And in Teams, again, it's the number of activities. So your top hero metric is about the amount of activities that's going on. So it's, to some extent, what we're doing is we're literally counting the sessions and across all of the users. But then we give you a breakdown of the number of users that are actually doing some of those activities. So across Exchange, are people sending, receiving, or actually reading emails. In an Exchange, that's a very typical pattern. People are sending very few emails. They're receiving a lot. And they're reading not everything that they're receiving. And then last but not the least, on each card, we have this gray bar here that allows you to see how many active users you have in your tenant and how many you have enabled to use that product. So when you assign a license to a user, you go into the user panel and assign them a license and then also specifically turn on products for them. So we are able to tell you how many you've enabled for that product and how many of them are using. And one of the things you would notice here is for each product, we have a distinctly different definition for what is active user in that product. And if you hover over that line there, you'll be able to see the definition. In Exchange's case, as soon as a mailbox is set up, you will see that there's emails that start reaching that inbox. But for us, an intentional action of either sending or reading an email is what will help you become an active user in the product. One of the things that we hear from customers is that we've actually not counted for calendar activity only. And so let's say you're an organization that's only using Exchange for the calendaring and scheduling of your staff to be in certain places, and that's the only thing, hypothetically, that you're doing, then you won't show up as active users in here. But we don't see that as a very prominent use case. In OneDrive, you're considered as an active user if you are interacting with files. You're either uploading a file or reading someone else's file or your own file, or you're actually sharing the file either internally or externally. In SharePoint also it's the same, where you're actually interacting with a file. And in Teams specifically, we're sort of showing you, are you interacting with messages or you're doing meetings in Teams? So each of these products have a distinct definition of what an active user is within that product. Do you have a question? Yes.
Actually, can you repeat the question?
Yes.
So
the question is, in SharePoint, do you show file activity that is occurring inside of a team? And the answer is yes. Because when you're looking at it from the perspective of SharePoint, it's agnostic of whether it was a Teams container or a SharePoint Teams group site or any of those. It's actually bringing in all of them. So why don't I actually click through the SharePoint report and actually show you what we have in there. So in SharePoint, we have a couple of concepts. You could either be doing a file activity, or you could be viewing intranet pages. So what we do is we bring that breakdown, and because the scale of these data points are very different, we brought files and pages on 2 different tabs here in the pivots here. So when you're in the files view, you're seeing how many users are actually, how many files are actually getting viewed or edited or synced directly with your the cloud apps and also how many of them you're actually sharing internally or externally. And this graph is interactive, so if you actually pull down, wanted to not see this, but just see how many people were syncing files, and you took away all of these, you'd be able to just see that series in there. One of the very important things to bring out is that the information in this system is typically 24 hours to 48 hours delayed from the time that the activity actually occurred. The pipeline actually processes the data from the locations of where the user is actually completing their activity, processing through till the data reaches our system, and such that we can actually enable it within the experience. It's about a 24-hour to 48-hour delay in there. And when you're looking at, the next thing in here is your ability to see how many pages are actually used. And then we give you a breakdown of how many users are actually either interacting with a file or visiting a page. So the notion here is that when you're looking at product level engagement, you should be able to answer that question on two factors. One is, are people using it? And if enough number of people are using it, how much are they using it by? So which is why you have these multiple pivots to say, look at the user level counts here, and then the engagement with the product, the intensity of engagement is represented in the files and pages. And now if you look at this detailed report here, our goal is to not just give you a number of saying 80 out of 100 are using the product. Our goal is to really help you understand who are those 80 and who are the 20 so that you can actually go take actions about it. Fundamentally, the report here shows you shilpi@microsoft.com and shows you my last activity date and shows you what are the types of actions I have taken. This helps you establish not just the reliability and accuracy of the report, but also you can see the types of capabilities that people are actually using. So if they are creating a lot more files than consuming in aspects, then you can actually understand that. To note here is that this grid here is showing an anonymized string, but that's not how your organization will see it. We are populating fake data into the system, and so we literally just anonymize that string forever. But you do have a setting in your control where if your organizational policies make it such that you cannot see user level details, then instead of showing a clear text user principal name like shilpi@microsoft.com, you'd actually see a garbage string in here. And so for that, you have to go into settings. I'll give you 1 second really quickly. So you go into settings and services and scroll all the way into reports. And we have 2 settings here that's available for you. One is to display anonymous identifiers. So if you come and click this, the next time, irrespective of whether you're getting the data through our UX in the admin portal, or through our APIs, through graph reporting APIs, or through the Power BI content pack, you will get anonymized user information, which means you have the peace of mind that if your organizational policies do not allow you to see that, you can go and just set this setting here. The second setting that is available here is to turn on the Power BI capability. A quick show of hands, is everybody using Power BI here? For anybody? Okay, cool. So you've probably already turned this on. For those that aren't familiar, a global admin in your organization can actually go and turn on this capability, which communicates to us that you're interested in seeing this information and analyzing your usage information in Power BI. And that capability turns on our side, a workflow that processes data for 12 months of history, and then we push it into Power BI in a way that you can access it and then analyze further in Power BI. So I'll show you that capability in just a minute. So going back into the usage reports, a couple of things to note here is when you're looking at products like OneDrive and SharePoint, from an activity perspective, there are multiple pivots that you can look at. First is whether users are active within that product. And the next is to look at the site entity. So if you're into SharePoint, you get a report that says looking at user activity, but you also want to look at site usage. So in here, what we do is we present a similar report, but where the entity that we're reporting on is the physical site. So we're able to tell you, is this site active? How many documents are active on this site? Are people visiting the pages in that? how much storage is used up for that, and what was the most recent activity date on that site. As an admin, you can use this information to actually manage site, recycling sites that are not really active anymore and things like that. One of the things before I move off of this page is the fact that is the capability to export this data. So obviously, this is a UX. We do bring in information of as many users as you have or as many sites as you have. But at any given point of time, this grid loads about 2,000 records. And if you have more than 2,000 sites or 2,000 users, your best bet is to actually export the data into Excel or CSV file. And then you can do some very lightweight analysis right from Excel in there. If you have less than 2,000 users or sites, then the information is available right here, and you can do some lightweight slicing and dicing and sorting right here within the grid. So I'm just going to show you a full set of reports that we have today and walk you through that. So in Exchange, we have an ability for you to look at user-level information of who's using email. We also have reports on what apps are people using. So is it Outlook, Outlook OVA, or Outlook Mobile, or others? So I'll just click on that report and quickly show you. So here we show you, are people using Outlook Windows, on Mac, on the web, or our native app? Or if they're using any other mobile apps to connect to our servers, or they're using any of our other protocols to come to this. Now, this is where you could come and sort of look at, do we want our users to not be coming in through other apps, but supported apps for security and compliance perspective? So you can come and look at that. We also help you see the versions that are being used to connect to our Exchange service. If folks haven't looked at the Teams report yet, because this is fairly recent as well, in Teams, we're able to give you the user-level activity information for how many people are using Teams. And again, in this, the series that we break out is, are people sending channel messages or chat messages, or are doing calls, or just meetings in there? Similar notion across all the other reports where you have a detailed user-level element in here. To talk you through one of the most recent reports that we're actually launching this week is the Office Pro Plus usage report. Today, for Office Pro Plus, we provide to you whether people have activated their subscription. But we're now taking it the next step to show you how many people are actually using those Office apps. And we are breaking out Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote here in this report because you already have an Outlook report. And Outlook is considered as part of Pro Plus, but we've not brought that into this report. So again, you're able to see how many users are using each of these products, as well as what is the total usage across these. And what we do here is we actually just help you break down, because the Pro Plus is assigned to the device, that we're able to show you if the device a Windows device or a Mac device. So that breakdown is available. And again, what we've done here is we've brought you the name of the user, what was the most recent Pro Plus license activation date, and what was the most recent activity date, and which platform are they using the product from. So this is the most recent report we've added. One of the things we're going to do is, over the course of the next half of this fiscal year, and even beyond, we're actually going to continue to add more and more optics for you to be able to understand product-level usage. Some that we're exploring is products like Forms, Planner, to Project, Stream. And shout out if you need a certain, help us prioritize. There's so many products under M365.
I'll say, so when you say fiscal year, that is through next June. So in the next basically 8 months, effectively, or 7 months. So.
Yeah. Say that one more time. Okay,
My
great
analytics,
to know.
okay.
Anybody else? So
what about mobile?
What do you need in mobile? Because what we do here is we're planning to bring mobile access within the product reports itself. So we're not going to do a separate report on mobile. Is that what you were looking for? Correct.
So you want to see it on iPhones, Mac OS, iOS, Android, the whole gamut.
Yeah, good to know. Yeah, we'll certainly add that.
Okay.
Good point. OneDrive mobile apps as well. Yeah, good point. I'm sorry,
again?
Can you say that one more time? Between blue collars and white collars. I see. So actually, all of these reports, I'll actually go back in here and show.
So you almost want to see it basically by like license in some ways, right? So it seems like, obviously we won't know if someone's a blue collar, white collar, first line, information worker, et cetera, but if you, maybe by license, maybe that might be something that, so if you said, if I have an E1 license, can you show me their app usage compared to someone who has an E3 or an E5 license? Is that kind of what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things we do is in these reports, we actually offer you the ability to see what license is assigned to them. So if you include this column called product assigned in the column, now of course, this is demo data for us, and we assign ourselves in demo tenant almost everything that Microsoft has. So this report is not very easily consumable from my demo tenant, but in your environment, you will see a very finite list that you've actually assigned to that person. So if you if you export this data or through the API, you will get the ability to say this person is assigned an E1 license or an E3 and they're using, or an F1 license or a frontline worker license. So the license information is available inline in the report itself. Yeah, we're bringing that in. That's on our roadmap as well. So today we're offering you a Teams user level activity. One of the things that we're doing next half of this fiscal year is to actually bring Teams level insights. Just like we do on SharePoint and OneDrive, where you see user activity and then site usage. And then OneDrive is the same thing, user activity and then OneDrive account usage. For Teams, we'll be doing the same. We have user activities and we'll be bringing Teams level activity. I think service plans as products, but I will confirm that again.
We'll do one more, then we get.
Yeah. File growth?
So make sure we get the.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So the question's around site growth. Okay.
So typically, I think you would here what I do is at an all-up level, you'd be able to see how many files are existing in the system and how many of them are actually active. And again, if I take away this, then you see the notion there. But the scale of files that exist versus active is similarly we do on storage. And here's what you would do: you would export this data because the data is available here. At the per site level, the data is available for how many files exist, how many of them are active, and how much storage is that site using. So if you could easily sort this across and say which are the sites that are actually moving faster. But it is a point in time. So it is as of today. Yeah. 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 That's a good point. We should definitely make a note of it. Okay, so I'm going to keep moving on, and then there'll be more time for Q&A. So let me actually take you back to the, where am I here? On the usage dashboard page.
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe like one more thing, and we should jump into the Power BI side.
Yeah, actually, I am going to jump into the Power BI right now. I'm going to walk you through. Okay, so this is the Power BI capability. And one of the things that it allows you to do, what I just showed you on the usage analytics and M3 in the admin center is a per product view of usage. As we were building that capability, we realized that actually what people are trying to do is get an overview across the entire suite. Like, what is the adoption across the entire suite? In bringing that information to you in a comprehensive manner, we decided the best approach was to actually leverage Power BI and help you see that all-up view and give you the right pivots that you could actually slice and dice. So in order to do that experience, also one of the things that we were hearing a lot was that when we do reports in the admin portal, today we bring in 6-month history. But customers were asking us, when you're trying to drive adoption in your organization, those are not really small 3-month, 4-month projects. Those are like literally long-running projects for you to really see the turn over time. So we were getting asked for 12-month or more history. Unfortunately, we can't store data for that long. So what we decided to do was, but we could store aggregate information. We couldn't store all of the transactional data that was happening. So what we did was we aggregated the data across, and we maintained the history of just that aggregate number. And so that is how, in the Power BI capability, we're able to offer you 12-month history at the aggregate level of information across all of these products. Also, what we do is, because we were using the Power BI content pack technology, there were some limitations to size as to how much we could pack within that capability. And so what we did was, instead of giving you history of 12 months, which we even don't have the ability to store data for that much, but for user-level data, what we did was we produced just your last month's activity. So in terms of a typical content pack cannot exceed 1 gig of compressed data. So in order to fit into that 1 gig of compressed data, we provided 12 months of aggregate history and 1 month of user-level activity information. So it gave you the ability to actually look at trends that were happening, look at pockets of people that were needing your help, and do that analysis, but still stay within the content pack limitation of 1 gig compressed data. What we also saw was that the reports in the admin center was allowing you to really look at the data, take it and export it and do the analysis, but most people were actually trying to then join the data with their organizational metadata. And we realized for some customers who do sync their organizational metadata into our AAD, we could actually pull this information from AAD and actually show you the power of both of these capabilities together. So that's what we did in the content pack. We actually brought forward some named fields from the AAD, such as department, company, and region. And for region, we actually bring city, state, and country. So we brought in 5 named properties from AAD, and we join it with the usage data directly in the content pack that allows you to see pockets of which departments are adopting the various parts of Office 365 and which regions are adopting it as well. The one flexibility that Power BI offers is that there's the connection string to your data store is already established in the content pack. So it's very easy for you to go and further customize it to actually build the reports that you want to be able to show it to your organization. And sharing becomes easy. At the time that we released the reports in the admin center, we actually didn't have the reports reader role first. So it was really hard for customers. Admins had access to it, but the people that needed to act on that data or were asking for that data, they weren't easily able to get to that. So we fixed it with 2 things. One is, of course, adding the reports reader role so that you could directly give access from their UX itself. And the second is, we made it easy for you because the Power BI was super easy to just share. So that capability also helped. In the Power BI, by default, the data refreshes every week, once a week. And if you do want, you can actually on-demand refresh it as well. The capability has to be enabled within the admin portal, and I'll show you that really quickly. So switch to demo.
You actually already showed them that.
Yeah, so you first, in terms of getting this set up for your organization, you would go to the settings page where I was just at and turn on the capability. That kicks off a workflow on our end, so we process your data. And then we actually update the information in this card right here so that you know that your data is now ready. And then you have to use this tenant ID and instantiate the Power BI. Now, this part actually has to happen within the Power BI experience. So you copy the tenant ID from here, and then you go directly into Power BI. This is the steps where you go into Power BI and you look for the Microsoft 365 Usage Analytics content pack. And this is what's changing. So today we want to announce that what we had in market was the content pack. And Power BI is deprecating the content pack technology. And they're replacing it with something called the template apps. In principle, it's exactly the same in the sense that it's a template that Microsoft has shipped in the Power BI gallery. You go into that gallery, you try to instantiate that. As you're interacting with that template app, you provide it your own tenant ID and your own credentials, and the template app then contacts our service and says, hey, I have Shilpi from Microsoft who's an admin, and she's authorized to see this data. We check for that authorization, and then we pass the data back, and then Power BI refreshes that template with your company's data. So that flow doesn't change. They're just deprecating content pack, and and the story is now a template app. Fundamentally, from your side, what changes for you? If you have a content pack today, instantiated in your environment, and you're happy with it, and your customizations are working against it, and you've shared that template with reports with others, you can stay as is. There's nothing that you have to do to change it, because the backend service that is our service is exactly the same. The schema of the data is exactly the same, and we're not changing anything that will warrant you to go back and change. Anybody new that's instantiating this for the first time will now be instantiating the new template app. So that's the only difference. So if you've never done this in your environment, you don't have the content pack, you're good. You can go in here, and in Power BI, when you look for Microsoft 365 Usage Analytics, you will get the new template app. We will be posting the new template app into the gallery sometime this week, at the latest within this month. So let's show you what's in that template app. So for all my ardent users of the content pack, why have we changed beyond, because Power BI was changing over from content pack into template app, we took this opportunity to actually simplify the report that's actually behind the content pack. And the reason we did this, I think it'll resonate with most of you guys. We had about 24 report pages or so in that. It was extremely extensive. When we were building that template app, we had good intentions in mind.
Shilpi, I like the arrow at the bottom where I just paged after page after page of report.
Yes, right?
The page after page you all saw.
But there were people who didn't like that.
I understand.
So fundamentally, what we wanted to do was give you a template that had any possible combination of report or chart or question that you may have, and you should be able to answer it. But it was getting a little overwhelming for folks. And our thought process was, you pick and choose what you want, you create a smaller version of it, and you share accordingly. But I realized every time that there's a visual, an information, like data analytics of any kind, people are afraid to give away that. People want everything. So it was actually getting very overwhelming for people to process everything and understand. So what we've done actually, and there was actually another issue, we had used some visuals in our previous content pack that were not being continued to support by Power BI. Some of the dials were actually going away and things like that. So we're like, all right, let's take this opportunity and let's simplify the reports. And so now, instead of 24 or so report pages, you have exactly 5. And this is your executive summary of the page. Information is not that different. So you shouldn't be worried that, oh my gosh, I used to have this information and now where is it gone? It's just reformatted in a way that actually helps you process the report in a more streamlined way. So at the top level, you should be able to see similar notions of adoption. What is the overall usage across Office 365? How many people are active and enabled across Office 365? And then when you break it down at the user level, you'll be able to see your Office 365 number, as well as each of the individual products that we have data for. Again, remember, Office 365, you're considered active in Office 365 if you're active in any one of the products, so it's an or. And then, similarly, you have the ability to see what are people using for communicating between Teams, Exchange, Yammer, or Skype, and how are people collaborating within OneDrive and SharePoint on their documents, and how is your storage growing across OneDrive, SharePoint, or Exchange mailboxes. Again, I'm going to reiterate, the information is exactly the same as what is in the content pack today, but it's represented in a fashion that allows you to actually make sense and reason over it in a more peaceful fashion. And then again, when you are done looking at the exec summary, your next step is to really understand the overview across each of these products. And so what we've done here is, and actually this is something, we've actually utilized a lot of new capabilities of Power BI reporting. So a lot of these tabs weren't available 2 or 3 years ago when we were building the reports. So now we realized that we could actually show you those same pivots of usage, communication, collaboration, storage, and mobility that you had on the main exec overview page. And then we give you a breakdown and the ability to select across each of the products, and you can see a more systematic view on the usage over time, and then also be able to see the high-level aggregate summary on it. So if you, in this case, if you were in the Office 365, you'll get all-up view, but if you clicked on any one of the products, this would show you the enabled users or active users or month-over-month returning, first-time users, cumulative users across Exchange for the last 12 months. So again, this used to be a trend line and super hard to consume. That report you can still see by hovering over the value, and you see the full chart. So these are all new Power BI capabilities that allow you to be able to visualize much more pleasantly and still see all of the information that you had in the previous one. I'm not going to click through all of these. They're exactly the same information. They follow the same format. Then you go into activation and licensing, and you're able to see Office activations, as well as how many licenses are assigned to those people. So to your question, you'll be able to see what are all the licenses that I've assigned over time. Again, because of this, our demo tenant, you do end up having a lot of licenses here, but that's not a typical scenario. Then we go into the product usage. So if you're looking across product, we've got a whole lot of sub-activities within the product, the same ones that you see even in your usage reports in the admin center. We bring the same capability here. What's the count of users that are, what is the activity count, and what's the user count of that behavior? And we show you by time in this fashion, so you can actually see the progression and the change over time. Last but not the least, is the user activity, where you can actually see by company or by department what is the usage across the products and which departments are using it more and which companies are using it more. And then we also allow you to see, enable you to see it in a grid view right here. So this is, and one of the things we do is we also show you your department level. Like this is an interesting view here that allows you to see what, and you can filter by the company or the department in here to sort of say which companies are actually using and what combination of the Office 365 products are they using most popularly. So in this case, you can see how Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams is super popular amongst this small organization, as well as Yammer, and then some of the other combinations. So the idea is we just pre-compute some of your permutation combinations of possible product use scenarios that you can have, and then you see it. And of course, if you have your country, city, state, and country information, then this map view shows you where the concentration of usage activity is in your organization. So this data, which is at the user level, it's showing you only information for the last complete month. Every other aggregate piece of information that is in here goes for a 12-month history. So that, which is why here this is information only at the per product level, but then you're able to see which departments are using it more and stuff. So we can, with that, I think we should go back into your slide for next piece.
Yep. So I think we kind of gave you the high-level overview of what we have in usage analytics here. I think we'll cancel out of that. I want to hit it. I think we need that. Perfect. So as you kind of saw within the admin center, you get that usage dashboard, that 6-month summary of product usage. You get the user level details. And you've got that API to help you retrieve that data and be able to merge it with other information. On the Power BI side, as Shilpi showed you, you get that easily pre-configured adoption dashboard, drill down reports, gives you that data, helps you look at data in different ways. And you get 12 months of information. Now, if we go back to the beginning of the session, when we talked about value, someone over here said, I measure value by productivity. So we're going to give you a sneak peek. We announced this yesterday. We're also building something called Productivity Score. The idea here is to help you get insights that transform how work is done inside your organization. And we do this by focusing on 3 core things. We want to give you visibility to help you understand how your organization works. And we do this by focusing on a couple core areas, like how are people communicating, how are people doing meetings, how are people collaborating on content, and are they able to work anywhere? So these are the 4 areas that we focus on in our private preview. Now, there's also another side of the solution, because that's kind of the employee experience side. There's also a technology experience side, which focuses on helping you understand how does technology enable your productivity, and by looking at things like the device experience. So what's the boot time of the device? Can you remediate problems before the end user even sees them? What does your network look like? Because you could be the best collaborator on the planet and know all the features and functionality, but if it takes me 5 minutes to upload a Word document that's 200K, that's going to probably not help me collaborate very well. Now, once you've got that visibility, we want to give you insights. We want to give you recommendations so you can identify where you can enable these improved experiences. So we want to help you understand where you can actually go ahead and try to enable that improved experience. Maybe you want to focus on collaborating on content and driving more people to collaborate more effectively. And then last but not least is action, right? So we give you the recommendation, but how do you act upon it? So because we want to help you update skills and systems so that everyone can do their best work. So we want to give you those actions so that maybe on the content collaboration side, you have a lot of people sending email attachments. Maybe you want to help them do links instead. We can help you with that and give you the training content that you can send to your people to help them understand why that might be something you want them to do. So I would highly recommend you take a look at this. We have a private preview of this starting up. If you want to learn more, absolutely you should. You would actually need to go look at session ADP40, the recording of it, because Shilpi and I just did that session right before this one. So check out the recording of that. And definitely, if you want to sign up for the private preview, it's aka.ms/productivity-score-preview. Other sessions you also might want to look at, if you want to learn about the technology experience side of Productivity Score, you should definitely check out Mark's session, BRK 3086, this afternoon. Shilpi and I covered more of the employee experience side of like the 4 areas that I just talked about. Mark will cover more of the technology side. And then we have a bunch of other sessions around adoption, and we have some theater sessions around, again, the reporting and productivity score. The productivity score session you'll see on later on this afternoon. So we definitely want you to check that out if you want to come down to the theater and check that out. So with that, thank you very much. Please do evals, and we will take questions. But if we could stand up to the mic so we can get them recorded, we would really appreciate it. So again, thank you for your time. Have a great day. First question over here. Ooh, can we get the mics turned on?
Okay.
All right.
Real quick, if you're going to do the technology preview or sign up for the preview, are there any prerequisites?
So on the productivity score preview, on the employee experience side, the 4 pieces that I talked about, you must have a commercial subscription of Office 365 or Microsoft 365. So you're good there. On the technology side, they have some different requirements because they're pulling the data from devices. So there's a few things that they require. I think they require a certain number of Intune licenses and devices deploy a certain version of Windows. But you can find out more in their session or check out the form. It'll tell you what exactly the requirements are.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right. Middle.
Okay.
No, sorry, up front.
He was already there.
Oh, he was already there. Okay. All right.
Go for it. Right behind him.
All right, gentleman in the back then.
Do you have any roadmap plans at this point for GCC or GCC high tenants as opposed to
Yes.
commercial?
Yes, we are almost there with GCC and GCC High. We've completed all of the compliance and certification steps.
I thought we turned it on.
We have actually turned it
I
on.
was gonna say, we turned on for GCC High. We already flipped the switch.
Google.
Yeah, we flipped the switch for GCC High. Because remember, I had to do the announcement.
So the answer is yes, we're available in GCC and GCC High on usage analytics on this.
Not all the reports are available. There's a subset of the reports that are available. Not every single one, but we've lit up the usage reports in the admin center for some of them. So we're getting there, but not everything. We started the path. So, okay, gentleman up front.
So the productivity score, is it tied to My Analytics? And is it GDPR compliant?
It is, you want to take the
So the question I think is how is productivity score different from My Analytics or Workplace Analytics? Is that what I'm trying?
They're tied together since the My Analytics you can.
They're not tied together.
They're not tied together.
It will be GDPR compliant. Today we're showing aggregate tenant level information in the productivity score, and we will have a consent form that will allow us to be able to process at the user level as well.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I think we'll take a question in the back corner over there.
Hi, Shilpi. We've been a Power BI user since preview.
Perfect, thank you.
A couple of bits of feedback or requests. So longer term data collection. So if you use the Azure Analytics app in Power BI, it gives you the chance to take up to 36 months of data. Could we get something like that for Office 365 as well, or Microsoft 365?
I'll take a look at it.
Yep. And the other thing is we've got Power BI Premium. how can we deploy the app into Power BI Premium rather than having to give people pro licenses? Because the whole idea of Power BI Premium is we don't have to give them pro licenses just to
Right.
read the reports.
I don't have an answer for you on that one. I think it's a Power BI cable. You guys are the next here. Oh, okay, okay. Why don't we come down and answer your questions or any other that are in there? Because
Yeah,
the
they
next
can set
session
up,
is
and we
to
can
get
still
there.
take questions and stuff. I don't think they need the mics right away, so, okay. So anybody else has a question, we're going to let them set up. Come on down. We will answer questions without microphones. So again, thanks for the time.